This is Joe Biden debating in 2012.
You think these guys are going to go out there and cut those loopholes? The biggest loophole they take advantage of is the carried interest loophole and capital gains loophole. They exempt that. Now, there's not enough. The reason why the AEI study, the American Enterprise Institute study, the Tax Policy Center study, the reason they all say taxes will go up in the middle class, the only way you can find $5 trillion in loopholes is cut the mortgage deduction for middle class people, cut the health care deduction for middle class people, take away their ability to get a tax break to send their kids to college.
This is Joe Biden debating in 2024.
What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Here's one more clip from this last debate.
Make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
There are only two realities now possible. Either Joe Biden has lost control of his faculties, so sadly, and truly can't tell how much he's declined, in which case he can no longer be president, of course. Or he's still okay enough to see it, in which case it's his duty to step down. But either way, he must go. No one man is more important than our republic. I know we've been trained to think the opposite with, the president before Biden, but it really actually is true. I know we've become a culture that doesn't ever want to make anyone feel bad, but this is now at a level that is beyond insane. This is gambling with our lives. Someone commented on my Instagram post about this saying, I thought we weren't supposed to be ageist or ableist in this country. And then I heard a sitting congressman, Steve Horsford of Nevada, say the exact same thing today on CNN. Are you kidding me? Is that a joke? Ableist? Not being ableist means we need to prevent discriminatory language and institutional policies in our society that discriminate against people with lower levels of ability and make sure they have fair access and treatment. It doesn't mean you get to be the president of the United States. Have we lost our damn minds? Have we taken everyone gets a trophy culture all the way to the highest office in the land? Should we hand the nomination to him just because his wife says, you did great, Joe? And what she said today, he's always supported my career, so I'm going to support his. Huh? Talking down to him like he's a child? This isn't a summer job at a water park. This is the most powerful position on planet Earth. Does anybody in their right mind actually think we should let someone be president of the United States who isn't able to do the job out of fear of that being discriminatory? Yes, apparently lots of people do. Anyone who says that should have their brain called into question. I swear to you, no one has critical thinking skills anymore. So many people have commented to my calls for Biden to step down saying, you're not helping. You're going to get Trump elected. Why don't you call for Trump to step down? Each of those so devoid of clear, obvious thought. Of course I think Trump should step down. I think he should be put in prison for the rest of his life, if not worse, as I believe he is guilty of treason, and there are certain punishments outlined in the Constitution for that. And it is incredibly clear that another term of his will be so dangerous for so many of our rights will be taken away, and our democracy likely will not survive. That's why you are not helping by ignoring the obvious. You are not helping by putting blinders on and pretending that a man who can barely make a coherent sentence should be the president of the United States, or that he has any ability to take on, for the next 4 months even, Donald Trump, who, while evil, is also one of the most effective liars and effective communicators we have ever seen on the national stage. It takes some Jedi-level skills to defeat that. Not someone who does what Joe Biden did in that debate, even when they were cutting off Trump's mic when he finished his answers. Because Biden hit the nail on the head in a moment of honesty and clarity in his Stephanopoulos ABC interview. He said he wasn't in control.
I'm not blaming it on that. but I realized that I just wasn't in control.
That is the exact problem, sir. You do not seem to be in control, and it's your job to be. Biden's ABC interview, the one he meant to show how sharp he was, showed a man with a soft grasp on his thoughts. And we were supposed to feel good when really what we deep down actually felt was how we do when we see an elderly loved one with serious mental decline have maybe a better day. You feel a little better seeing it, but you don't think your grandma should now run the country. And the disastrous debate was very obviously not due to a cold or even a bad night. You don't lose your ability to speak or make sense consistently throughout 90 minutes because of a bad night. And your debate prep literally included, by the way, a nap every day. And it's not because of his stutter either. I had a severe stutter and disfluency for much of my life, so I can tell you from experience, what we are seeing today is plainly not that. To still back Biden's candidacy, we are being asked not to trust our own eyes. And yet some people I love and respect have been unwilling to even listen to this opinion. One even wrote on social media, if you even bring up wanting him to step down, that quote, "You are dead to me." What a pointless, immature stance. You're nearly guaranteeing a Trump victory with that opinion. But go ahead, I suppose, and pull the wool over your eyes. Just don't ask me to get in the car if you're driving, with wool-covered eyes. And don't ask me to support your candidacy if you can't give coherent answers to straightforward questions. With respect to President Biden, a normally good and decent man, he clearly no longer appears to be up to the hardest job on earth. That's not an insult, it's just true. And so the only good and decent thing to do is to step down. And that means he must not only drop out of the race, but honestly, he should also resign. Even staying in power for 6 more months until late January, when the transition happens, in this condition seems too risky. If for a week, okay, but half a year in charge of the world, the risk seems too great. And you simply wanting to stay is not reason enough. But at the very least, you must drop out of the race. When asked what would happen if Trump wins because of his staying in the race, he said this.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
Sorry, sir, but that is very much not what this is about. And not to nitpick, but also goodest is not a word. With respect, sir, but since this is life and death, since, you're the president, it is my duty as an American to say, coddling your feelings is not worth letting you stay in power without full control of your brain, with the world as chaotic and tense as it is. It's not about your age. This is about your condition. To be president of the United States, you need to be one of the sharpest humans on earth. You have to juggle the most complex and important issues at literally all times, around the clock, and you must have a mastery of their details, deeply understanding the risks of each. Any less puts us in danger. And if you watched that interview, the best you could feel was you were having a somewhat better day, a bar that is far too low to literally run our nation, let alone the world, and be responsible for literally all of our lives. You lost your train of thought a couple of times during the interview to prove how sharp you are after the debate. And you said you didn't remember if you watched the debate back, sir? How could you not remember that? It just happened, and it's long and very momentous. But you said this.
Did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Losing your train of thought and grasp of the facts has to happen close to 0 times as president. I'm sorry to say, sir, you yet again failed your own test. You are just in denial, sir. You say you talked to regular Americans and they want you to stay in. Of course, most will say that to your face, but you're ignoring the signs along the path of your motorcade saying, "We love you, Joe. Bow out." There was even a man at your own rally standing behind you holding a similar sign. And to those saying, "Don't judge him on just one night," you know that's disingenuous, because it has been happening a lot. And is happening so frequently now, practically every time he speaks. These next clips are just in the last week or so.
I'm staying in the race. I'll beat Donald Trump. I will beat him again in 2020.
Extraordinary President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Ho, ho, ho.
By the way, I'm proud to be, as I said, the first vice president, first black woman, served with a black president. I'm proud of the
Sir, with great respect, the year is 2024. Santa Claus is not part of the 4th of July, and you are not a black woman. To quote you, sir, come on, man. I mean, what is this? We living in the Twilight Zone? That's supposed to be an acceptable series of things for the president running for re-election to say? As Stephanopoulos reminded you, you many times have told us to watch me, as the barometer to judge you on. When asked if you're too old to run, watch me. At that, sir, your own barometer, you now regrettably fail over and over again. And these are just the moments we see. I hate to imagine what it's like behind closed doors. Mr. President, stubbornly staying in when you obviously now are having frequent cognitive issues is the definition of irresponsibility. And you know it's true because you refuse to take a cognitive test. A man confident about his brain would just do it and put the debate to rest. It's your duty to allay our concerns about your brain when your brain seems to be failing. Again, because your job has higher stakes than literally any other job on earth. Instead, it's now coming out that a doctor who's an expert on Parkinson's disease visited the White House 8 times in 8 months. Now, in fairness, the same man apparently also visited the Obama White House a bunch of times. But instead of being forthright and explaining his visits, your team is simply refusing to answer simple questions about it. You are very clearly no longer fully up to the task, sir, and it pains me to say it because I truly admire you. But even in the face of admiration, hard truths still exist. And we understand you didn't expect this to happen, and so it's a lot to adjust to. So we get that it's taking a week or two to wrap your head around the fact that this campaign may be over for you. But if you don't soon do what's best for the country, we will have to start losing respect for you, sir. And it will tarnish your legacy, because again, this nation is far more important than any one man. And to the president's staff, you are clearly lying to us when you say he's just like he was. That will end up being a cover-up that leaves your own legacies in shame, and one even dumber than Watergate because it's so obvious. It is any good person's duty to be honest, especially when we are trusting you with our lives. So we cannot take these lies lightly. There is no room for politeness when our lives are on the line. I'm fully aware of the stakes. I've dedicated a huge part of my life to ensuring that Trump does not return to power. I even ran for president in 2020 to try and stop him myself. So I directly know the rigors of running for this exact office. It is by far the hardest thing I've ever done or will ever do. And I understand deeply the existential risks of a second Trump term. Our entire democracy is on the line. So I do not say any of this lightly, which is exactly why Mr. Biden must go. A man in his condition simply is not able to do the job well. It's so obvious. As he says in his still more lucid moments, the stakes are too high. So Mr. President, thank you deeply for your service. And please, for the love of all of us, bring your long and very accomplished career in public service to a close by passing the torch and bowing out gracefully. It's the right thing to do, and so I have to trust that you will. At least I hope so. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. You can follow me on Instagram @Ben Gleib for lots more.